Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lisa Farr, and the episode today is brought to you by Elixir Specialty Coffee. Looks like whiskey, feels like tea, made from coffee, and unlike anything you've tasted before. Enter code MAPITFORWARD to get 10% off your first order of Elixir Specialty Coffee today at elixirspecialtycoffee.com. Today on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, we are talking about the opportunity to teach consumers about coffee. And we are presented with a very unique opportunity now, thanks to this pandemic, to start thinking about the way that we're talking to consumers about coffee. They, more than ever before in history, they being consumers, are brewing coffee themselves. And so they have a much more intimate relationship with the beans that they're using in their homes to brew their own coffee. And what better opportunity than right now to help them understand a deeper relationship with that coffee. Now, it's not going to work with everybody. People who aren't earning a lot of money are just going to buy the cheapest grocery store coffee that they can find. It doesn't mean we've lost the opportunity, but perhaps that's going to have it be more difficult to access people like that. They may not be interested in understanding what's going on. The people who are going to understand what's going on are the people who are going to make an effort to source beans that are roasted by boutique roasters, by specialty coffee roasters, by people who go to the effort of establishing relationships with the people that are roasting the coffee. So if people are going just to supermarkets and buying coffee, they're probably not going to be able to have access to, let's say, people who listen to this podcast, the roasters out there that are building direct relationships with the consumers. But if you are one of those roasters and you are shipping direct to consumers, in the past, when it may have been one of those situations of how do I get people to care about the supply chain, this is a wonderful time to get people to care about the supply chain. And how are some ways that you can do that? Well, one of the ways that you can do that is by starting to understand what you want people to know about your supply chain. Once you've got that down and you understand the messaging that you want to get to them, figure out how you're going to deliver that. And a couple of ways that you could do that. You could create some free videos that you can put on your social media. And when orders go out with the email, confirming the order, you can include a link that says, here's our new YouTube channel. And on our YouTube channel, we're talking about how you should brew this specific coffee. During that video, talk about the farmer, talk about the processing that went into creating that coffee, talk about the roasting, talk about the varietals. Also in there, use the opportunity to define the way that you use the terms. So for example, tell people what green coffee is. I know that that might sound fundamental, but remember, for you being a person in this industry, that information is just assumed. For the general public, it's not. It would probably shock you to know that a lot of people don't know that coffee comes from a plant. So, and you can understand that if you come from the context of the majority of people drink coffee out of a tin. They drink it out, or a jar, like a Nescafe jar, a Folgers jar, whatever the brand of instant coffee that's sold in a supermarket is, that is usually most people's barrier to entry into coffee. And as much as you would like to think that that's not the case, the numbers are that Nestle creates 6,000 cups of coffee per second. That's a real number that someone from Nestle came and told us on this podcast. So when you look at those numbers, we do not in specialty coffee even come close to creating that number of coffee in any one brand. So if people's point of reference is this whole instant coffee from a can frame of reference, then you can understand why it would surprise some of them that coffee actually grows on a tree. Your direct access to the consumer right now in ways that you've never had before, where they're sitting at home and they know that they can influence the way that their coffee is brewed. They have to. They're the ones that are making it. They're going to care. They're going to take more time. And so including this information in your videos, what's green coffee? What does it mean that a coffee is a natural coffee? What does it mean to say that a coffee is a Gesha versus whatever, Katura, Pacamara, all of these things. All of these things that you put on your postcards or your bags of coffee that tell people exactly what each thing is, this is the time to start explaining that terminology. Why should people care how many meters above sea level a coffee is grown, and why is that important? Now, this is where things will start to get interesting for our industry, because if you are going to step into the space of explaining this to people, it means you're going to actually have to know the answers for yourself. So please, when you do this and you do this undertaking, do it well. This is where you really do start to represent the industry, not just your business. Informing yourself, finding credible information that's not from 5 years ago, it's not from 10 years ago, it's from now. It's from trusted sources that can actually explain to you why certain coffees are grown at a certain elevation. The best resource for that is the producer. The producer that's making this coffee is the person that can tell you why they've grown that coffee at that elevation. So connect with them, ask them. Perhaps you could have them do a Zoom call or a Skype call, record it, and include it up on your YouTube channel. There are a lot of opportunities for you to start informing your customer about the way that they could be talking about coffee, that the way that they could be viewing coffee. And it's incredibly important that you take this opportunity to do that, simply because once this opportunity is gone, it's never going to be here again. We hope that we don't have a pandemic again where we're all stuck in the house and can't get out for months on end. The other way that you could do this is that you could employ baristas that have been put out of work to do one-on-one brew classes with your customers as a part of buying a monthly subscription. So they can do the brew course over Zoom, over Skype, whatever, Facebook Messenger, whatever it is. Instagram can do it too. So you can connect customers through Instagram. Your barista, coffee professional, roaster, whoever it is, can call that customer when they're ready to get brewing in the morning or the afternoon, and they can talk them through based on the brew method that they best prefer to use at home. So that's going to mean that the person that's brewing is going to have to be informed as well. They're going to have to be able to answer the questions that the general public, the person, your customer that they're going to be talking to, they're going to have to be able to answer those questions. And those questions will come in the form of, how much coffee should I be using? Is it important if I use tap water versus filtered water? Where can I get extra equipment? What happens if it doesn't quite taste right? The people that you are going to get to do this training should be well informed. And so please take the time to train people properly, not just in how to brew a coffee on a V60, not just how to brew coffee as espresso, but how do you do that in a home? How do you do that on a home Breville machine? What's it going to be different about that? So take the time to sit and talk it out with the people that are going to be training the people who are buying your coffee. The third way or the third thing that I think that you should be thinking about is how do you capture the leads that could potentially connect the person who's consuming the coffee and this extra educational equipment that you're going to be able to offer them, and having them sign up to a subscription service and releasing monthly information with that is another way that you can generate a revenue stream that creates an ongoing learning process so that you have certain information that goes out every month. So this is what goes out the first month someone's on a subscription service, the second month someone's on a subscription service, the third month, and so on and so on and so on, so that the first month you're teaching them about the fundamentals of brewing coffee. Why is it important to understand what water they use? Why is it important for them to understand the equipment that they have? Why do they need to understand grind size? And then build on that. So there are services like MailChimp and other email services that will allow you to set automated responses to people connected into the back end of your Shopify store or your Squarespace website that trigger every time somebody joins a subscription service and then can move on after that. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that this has helped you figure out a couple of different ideas that will help spark some ways that you can start a conversation in a new way with your consumers that are at the front end of the coffee supply chain. These are the people who have the power to start deciding to buy coffee that is paid fairly for and move away from a supply chain where producers are not paid a fair amount for that. And this is the time where you can be an active participant in shifting the way that consumers act in the coffee supply chain. Don't waste that opportunity. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.